Hi everybody, it's Kadzo with Kadzoweforafrica. So let's get right to it. Today we'll talk about 5 tips for how to apply for admission for study in the United States. Tip number 1, start a year in advance. A lot of international students do not know that when it comes to admission into US-based institutions, there's actually an order to the madness. So typically what happens is many first-year students or new graduate students typically start the fall of every year. Fall admission is actually a good time to apply for because this is the time that you will be able to better get scholarships, especially when it comes to admission. So I definitely recommend that as opposed to applying for the spring admission, that you apply for fall admission. Fall admission typically means beginning in August. And so if you start a year in advance, that means that the August of the year prior is when you're starting to think about applications to institutions. Tip number 2. Bear in mind, everybody, that the deadline or the national deadline for scholarship admission is usually November the 15th of an academic year. That's typically the time when many people start to review who will qualify for opportunities when it pertains to scholarships for the following year. So if you apply later than November 15th, that means that there might be a lot of other people who are considered for those opportunities first. Scholarships are awarded on a first time, first come basis. So it's important for you to be able to apply early to be considered for those opportunities. Tip number 3. I cannot emphasize enough, and you've heard me in my other videos talking about this. Please apply to at least 5 schools when you apply for admission. This is because you want to give yourself a chance to be able to negotiate opportunities. You also would like to have options, and who knows, maybe if you get one offer from this institution and another offer from this institution, you can negotiate at that point. So it's important that you are able to don't put all your eggs in one basket is what I typically mean. So at least 5 schools is what would be my recommendation. Tip number 4. Please research on scholarship information from the major department website and the financial aid website. So remember, you are going to be working with 3 main websites as you apply. So you will be looking at possibly the admissions website for the admission requirements. I also recommend that you look at the major department website so that you can have an idea about, what are the opportunities within your major, what is it that you're going to be learning. And you also want to look at the school's financial aid website because that also can give you some more information about financial aid opportunities. You'll notice in one of my videos that I have uploaded, especially the one that talks about scholarships for undergraduate and graduate students, there are main scholarship areas, different kinds of scholarship opportunities. Some scholarship opportunities are merit-based, some scholarship opportunities are need-based, some scholarship opportunities that are based on athletic prowess, and so there are different kinds of scholarship opportunities, and you want to make sure that you have an idea about what those are. Tip number 5. Consider the cost of living. I cannot emphasize this enough for people who are applying to the United States who are not familiar with the United States. Just like any country, there's always going to be places where it's really expensive, where the cost of living is high, and there's going to be places where the cost of living is low. I'll give you an example. If you apply for opportunities perhaps in New York City, the cost of living will be relatively high. But if you apply for opportunities, say for example in the South, in a place for example like Florida, the cost of living probably will be a little lower than it is in New York City. Now, what that means for you as an international student is that whatever money that you get, you'll be able to have more options. So if you are the kind of international student that maybe wants to send some money home to be able to help with the expenses because you're from a third world country, then you may want to consider a place where the cost of living is not as high so that you might have options for that. So something to consider. But of course, a lot of it is also dependent on the aid that you get in that particular institution. But don't be afraid to take a look at the cost of living as you consider application for admission in U.S. schools. My grandfather used to say, "Mkono mmoja hauui ng'ombe," which means that you absolutely cannot slaughter a goat or a cow with one hand. So I say that to you to let you know that as you apply for opportunities in the United States in higher education, make sure that you apply to as many schools as you possibly can, because you're just opening up more opportunities. And finally, guys, remember, if you subscribe to my channel, I will be able to provide for you a list of schools that offer scholarship opportunities for international students. So make sure that you click the subscribe button. It's free. Thank you for supporting the work. For those of you that have, I really, really, truly appreciate it. For more information, as always, please go ahead and read my blog. This is Kadzo with Kadzoweforafrica. Remember, education is the key to your future. Until my next video, everybody, bye-bye.